This is the Paul McGUIRE Report on Paul McGUIRE. We're going to take a global overview of what's happening on planet Earth, what's happening in the United States of America. Why? Because we have never been down this road before, ever in the history of mankind. The human race has never gone down this path. And I'm not talking about the path of the yellow brick road where we're off to see the wizard, for crying out loud, the wonderful Wizard of Oz, because the wonderful Wizard of Oz doesn't exist. He's a man-made humanistic fabrication. He's a transhumanist. What did Dorothy see when she was with her little dog Toto? What did she see? She finally made it to Oz, which is kind of a parable for an occultic / mind control city. You say, where do you get that from, Paul? Well, if you study the life of the author of The Wizard of Oz, you see that he was deeply involved in the dark occultic teachings of Madame Blavatsky, the Russian occultist. And then we have to remember that the Russian occultist, Madame Blavatsky, her teachings were allegedly, by her own words, her teachings were channeled to her by an ancient Tibetan spirit guide who downloaded into Madame Blavatsky's mind and consciousness what was called the plan. It was simply known as the plan. And the plan was a humanistic, satanic, occultic plan for the world. And right now, as you and I are talking, and you're listening to the Paul McGUIRE Report, right now as we're talking, we have never been, as a human race, we have never been marching down that counterfeit path faster than we have right now. And that means that certain things are inevitably going to come to the end of the road. And I'm not embellishing or amping this up, for the sake of drama. I'm just telling you like it is. I've spent 40, 50, 60 years, beginning in my childhood, researching this stuff and reading and pursuing documentation. So Madame Blavatsky, her teaching is embedded into the cerebral structure of the United Nations, which was formed in 1948. And prior to that, the United Nations, they had a trial run for the United Nations, and it was called the League of Nations. And I believe that was 1917 or 1918. But that fell apart, the League of Nations. So then they waited to 1948 and they rebooted the League of Nations, and they called it the United Nations. And Rockefeller and the Rockefeller financial empire, which is directly connected to the international banking families like Rothschilds and the other super rich international banking families, who, by the way, as I point out and as I document for you in my books, like The Greatest Battle for the Hearts and Minds of Mankind in the History of the World, I document for you, sorry my notes are all over it, but I document for you the 12 international banking families that are now referred to as the 1%. They represent 1% of the world's population, yet these international banking families, these Luciferian elite banking families, although they only represent 1% of the population of planet Earth, they in fact rule over the rest of mankind, or the remaining 99% of the population of planet Earth, the hardworking middle class and hardworking working class. See, all the rest of us, we are part of that 99% of the population of planet Earth. The puppet masters who are pulling the strings